Good evening, everyone. I am Namha Chawla. Welcome to Marketing Thought Leaders webinar hosted by afaqs in association with Quora for Business. Content consumption and creation are at an all-time high today. So much so that we are overloaded with content in different forms and on different channels. The challenge for the modern day marketer is to break through this clutter and create content that attracts the right audience and resonates with them. But how does one do that? Quora and afaqs have partnered to host a panel discussion, Cracking the Content Marketing Code, where we will ask leaders from the marketing industry to shed light on this theme. But before we move on to our panel discussion, I would like to invite Ms. Neha Chimbulkar, Head of Marketing Quora, Asia Pacific and Middle East Asia, to help and set the context for our audience.
Thanks, Anna.
Welcome, Neha. Over to you.
Thank you. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Excited to be here and so glad you could join us today. I'm here today to share our insights and strategies to help you create content that not only engages your target audience, but also drives results for your business. In today's digital age, creating and distributing high quality content is more important than ever. But with so much noise out there, it can be challenging to stand out and make an impact. We'll cover everything from defining your audience and objectives to building a strong content distribution plan and measuring success. So let's get started. The world is creating and consuming an unprecedented amount of content today. In fact, according to a recent Statista report in 2023, we're collectively estimated to generate and consume a mind-boggling 120 zettabytes of data worldwide. To put this into perspective, that's equivalent to 120 trillion gigabytes of data, which is enough to fill your daily data limit trillions of times over. But it's not just about the numbers. Let's take a closer look at how this affects us on a daily basis. According to data from Global Web Index, the average Indian spends approximately 2.5 hours scrolling through social media every day. This means that the question is no longer, do you have a content marketing strategy, but rather, what is your content strategy? How can you cut through the existing clutter and create an ecosystem of evergreen and dynamic content that engages your audience and keeps them coming back for more? With that, let us delve into the secrets of successful content marketing and learn how to crack the code for your own brand. At Quora, we have the 5 best practices that we recommend, which we'll walk you through the course of this presentation. To write great content, it's important to know your audience and tailor your content to their needs, interests, and language. In a survey conducted by SEMrush, 47% of marketers said that researching their audience was the biggest factor that led to success in their content marketing efforts. Knowing your audience will help you create engaging and effective content that resonates with your readers. To truly understand your audience, it's essential to create personas that detail what drives their decisions, whether they are rational or emotional, and what sources they use to gather information. Is it online research, asking peers, or taking courses? By understanding the nuances of your audience, you can craft content that speaks to their unique needs and interests. However, it's important to remember that your target audience is not a monolith. They may consist of multiple personas, each with its own set of needs and preferences. Therefore, it's crucial to tailor your content to different audience sets rather than treating them as a single entity. By starting with who you're writing for, you can build a strategy that effectively speaks to your target audience and helps you achieve your business objective. In the world of content marketing, it's not enough to create just one great piece of content. To truly stand out and capture your audience's attention, you need to develop a comprehensive strategy that incorporates a wide variety of content types and channels. This is where the concept of solar system content comes in. It's a continual process where everything is connected. You're giving your prospect one piece of content to satisfy their curiosity, and they're going to be looking for more content to continue to move themselves down the intent funnel. So creating a solar system of content is an essential part of a successful content marketing strategy. Your big piece of content, such as an annual research report, may be the center of your solar system. However, to maximize its impact, you need to break it down into smaller, bite-sized pieces such as blog topics, infographics. This way, your content can be more easily consumed by your target audience. They can navigate from one piece of content to the other with ease. The solar system model also allows you to build awareness around your brand and lead your target audience towards the conversion central point. Each piece of content in the system should be designed to support the central point and encourage the reader to take action. With a solar system of content, you can easily map out your content pieces and create a fun template for your content themes. This model is a great way to ensure that your content is organized and aligned with your overall marketing strategy. In today's fast-paced digital world, people are constantly searching for answers to their questions. As a content creator, it is important to identify these high-demand questions and provide relevant and valuable answers. This is where the third aspect of best practices for content writing comes in: answering high-demand questions. By creating content that addresses the questions and concerns of your target audience, you can establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry and build trust with your audience. In this section, we will explore the importance of answering high-demand questions and strategies for effective content that provides value to your readers. Curiosity is the driving force behind human learning, and content marketing has the power to spark that curiosity. It's not just about the words on a page anymore, it's about intent. When done right, content can guide a potential customer through the entire buyer's journey, from awareness to consideration and eventually to a decision. So how do you make sure your content is hitting the mark? It's about answering the high demand questions your audience is asking. You can use data from your search traffic, build a keyword map, and dig deeper to find out what your audience is asking on platforms like Quora. By providing answers to these questions, you not only attract a wider audience, but you also establish your brand as a trusted authority in the industry. It's not enough to write a weekly blog post and call it a day anymore. To stay ahead of the game in 2023, marketers need to invest more time and resources into creating a comprehensive content strategy that utilizes new media and tools for distribution and measurement. If you ask me, Quora is a valuable platform for advertisers to reach a highly engaged and intentful audience. With over 100 million users every month in India alone and 300 million globally, the platform attracts users who are actively researching products and brands. In fact, 52% of users come to the internet with the intent to research products and brands, and 53% of core users rely on customer reviews to make informed decisions. These users are most receptive and the perfect audience for brands to target. By answering the questions they are asking, businesses can create a powerful narrative and build layers of content around a single question. Quora allows for a combination of written and visual content into a single answer or a post, providing a comprehensive solution for brands to tell their story and engage with users who have already demonstrated their intent. It can't get better than that. Quality content is gold. Writing high quality content goes beyond simply having correct grammar and sentence structure. It's about creating content that resonates with your target audience and speaks to them in your brand's unique voice. I don't have to tell content marketers, however, it's imperative that quality content is free of typos and mistakes. But it also has to leave a lasting impact on your readers. In this aspect of best practices, we'll explore how to truly create impactful content and go beyond that regular hero piece that we always go back to. What I mean by high quality content is something slightly different. Make sure high quality content is not what you're defining it as. It's what they are defining it as. And when I say they, I mean your personas. What kind of content is most important to them? This chart is from the B2B research report by the Content Marketing Institute. This survey results showed content pieces that were producing most results for marketers. And as you can see, as a best practice standard here of what type of content was producing the most level of engagement over 12 months, you see virtual events, webinars, online events, research reports, short articles, and posts. It's interesting to see that some of those bigger blocks up at the top, people have broken down them into small pieces. So if you want to get people into those bigger blocks again, use your content solar system. Use your satellite pieces to pull them in towards that big central point. And the very last one I want to talk about is distributing your content with true intention. And what I mean by that is probably best broken down into a strategy that we use to distribute our own content on the team. Your content distribution channels are just as important as the content itself. Once you've identified your target audience, it's crucial to develop a content distribution strategy that gets your content in front of the right people. This may be including posting on forums, communities, and even paying to promote your content on those sites. Paid promotion is an effective way to boost the impact of content and reach a wider audience. However, it's important to test and learn which platforms and paid channels work for your business. This requires experimentation and implementation to find the right strategy that fits your brand. At Quora, we understand the value of your thought leadership and how important it is in driving success for any business, regardless of the size of the industry. That's why we offer Promoted Answers, a native and engaging format exclusive to Quora that takes your answer to the next level. By pairing Promoted Answers with Quora's targeting suite, you can reach even more people who are interested in what you have to say, generating leads and driving influence for the long term. So if you're looking to take your content distribution strategy to the next level, consider leveraging Promoted Answers with targeting and content marketing tools that help you reach and engage with your audience in the long run and drive results for your business. So to summarize, to effectively distribute your content, start by knowing your target audience content consumption habits and set your objectives accordingly. Label your content based on its intended purpose and identify the appropriate distribution channels. Consider different content mediums and create an editorial calendar to ensure timely, relevant publishing. Continuously analyze and adjust your strategy, update and re-promote your content, because sometimes what happens is we leave it right there and we feel that people will keep coming back to the content. So it's okay to take an older piece of content that has worked for you and promote it again. Use analytics to track performance and adjust as needed. Regularly review and adjust your strategy based on what's working, what's not. Be curious about your data and continually work on improving it. So those are our best practices for everyone. I'm going to leave you with some words of wisdom from one of our favorite storytellers and content marketers, Mr. Walt Disney. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. So don't be afraid to be curious with your marketing. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. I would love to hear from you, and my contact information is right on the screen here. With this, over to Nama for the panel session.
Thank you, Neha, for this insightful start. Now, I would like to invite on screen our expert panel that will further delve into this theme and talk about how marketers can better adapt to the rapidly evolving consumption patterns of users. On the panel, we have Mr. Deepak Saluja, Head of Marketing, ICICI Securities, Mr. Manu Kumar, Head of Marketing, Hero Electric Vehicles, Ms. Anita Nair, Chief Operating Officer, Media Branding and Communication, Patanjali, Mr. Mukesh Guraya, Chief Marketing Officer, Modi Naturals. And to moderate the session, I would like to invite Ms. Venkata Susmita Biswas, Executive Editor, afaqs.
Thank you, Nama, and thank you, Neha. Hello and welcome everyone to the Marketing Thought Leaders panel discussion. Good afternoon to all my panelists and all those who have joined us remotely today. Uh, Neha, thank you so much for setting the context for our panel discussion. In fact, Neha's presentation reinforced one idea for me, that three things are important for digital marketing: content, content, and you've guessed it right, content. Do you think that's a little far-fetched? Am I, going a bit too far with this? But I mean, this is as meta as it gets where we are right now. Let me explain. Here we are, sharing and consuming content about work right now. Away from this, we are consuming content that entertains us, possibly on the way to work, back from work, back in the evening. We are possibly listening to a podcast that could once again be about work or something else, a hobby perhaps. And then when we wind down for the day, maybe a set of YouTube shorts. But let me say something more about content. Content, creating it and perhaps consuming it are extremely addictive. Haven't we all started with watching a 10-second trending dance video and then found ourselves an hour later reading replies on an internet forum to figure out how do I stop wasting time on the internet? Or have I exposed too much about my content consumption habits on the internet right now? But it's true, right, that content kind of drives digital consumption, and there's an excess of it out there. While marketers might want to make the best use of this format, it is also imperative that they stand out in the sea of content, from short videos to text, blog, and what have you, and be relevant at every point in the consumer's decision-making journey. And that brings us to our discussion today, to understand how marketers leverage content and break through the clutter online. And now I would like to go on to my panelists here. If I could start with you, Deepak, can you maybe tell us, and I will come to each of you, if you can tell us how, for a BFSI brand, what does content mean for you? Is it a lot of videos, blogs? Is it bite-sized content that creates awareness or educates consumers? How do you use content and perceive it?
So firstly, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate being part of this esteemed panel, and happy to contribute. So taking on to your first question, and taking just a step before I get into answering that question, would be the growth of the content, right? I mean, if we reflect back generations back, okay, and today a lot of parents, I mean, I'm a parent, and I tend to react to my kids' behavior towards content, right? Right now, the whole context of being digitally native is around the whole content space. The whole journey has evolved, where you would have limited content access. So if you look at the pre color TV era, where you would have the black and white, you would have limited hour of content access. The source of content access would be limited. Today it's multiplied to a level where, especially during the last 2.5 years of pandemic, we've seen a surge in the content consumption side. And this has led to a forced change behavior amongst consumers at large. In fact, we see this not being a generational gap. We see across generations, people adopting to accessing content because data is cheap. The whole pandemic forced them to shift to a new habit, wherein people got onto the digital devices more seamlessly. And therefore, that has led to the surge on content, coupled with the surge of various social platform, the context that you talked about, bite-sized content. All of this has coupled up the growth. And the other interesting fact remains is that today, from a brand context, we are no longer serving the content at a point that we believe the user should access us, but we are actually making ourselves available at all the points that we can allow the user to find us, right? So it's a little change in the way we would choose it to serve on X platform versus Y platform. Today we have to make sure, because we do not know, the consumer may access you at any point in time, at any format of content, whether it's a written format, whether it's a video format, whether it's a podcast. And I think we have to be present across this day journey and make sure we are relevant. Coming to the BFSI category in particular, what we observed, especially during the last couple of years, and we saw the thrust more during pandemic, the conversation around being more conscious about your investment as a habit or money matters started gaining populance. And during the COVID, I think what really transformed the conversation was the fact that there was a surge of content makers which came in with DIY content packs. You had brands like us, including being empathetic to our clients and serving him content with the context of enabling his decision making, not from a product push. I think that as an ecosystem across BFSI has coupled the growth of content consumption in our category. And we see this as a very intrinsic part of our core marketing strategy, which we cannot let go. And it's only to stay here with us.
Thank you, Deepak. And is that similar to what is happening at Hero Electric Vehicles, Manu? Or is it or how differently do you view it?
All right. First of all, thank you for having me here. Let me just start by saying that, automobiles typically, have been a very touch and feel product. So it's not always online. It's a primarily a offline product. People come to buy my product at the showroom, retail outlets, etc. And that still remains the primary, mode how people buy. But what happened was, and typically during the pandemic period, it changed, because everything was shut, nothing was allowed to open, etc. And at that time, the online medium started to really pick up for the automobile companies as well. And every company, rushed to, start online bookings, though everybody was present in social media, etc. It really, made everyone aware that, this is a medium which we should start looking at more seriously in terms of not only just pushing out content, but actually, letting people come down to our websites or any other place and let them have that feel, if not the actual touch and feel, but as close as possible. And at that time, content played a very important role. Specifically coming to electric vehicles, for us as an industry and specifically to Hero Electric as well, content is a very, very important role it plays, because there are a lot of myths around electric vehicles. There are a lot of questions which people have about electric. How does it work? How long the battery lasts? If there is an issue with battery, there are a lot of concerns about battery safety recently. So all that, makes everyone, want to ask a lot of questions. There are a lot of myths which float around. So content becomes very important, But having said that, one of the challenges which, an automobile marketer faces is that how do you actually give a seamless experience across online and offline? Every company has now started online booking channel. You can come to my website, book a vehicle and do deliveries from the dealerships. But, when I say content, because there is a lot of content which gets at the dealership as well. I think we should not forget that, when people talk to consumers, the kind of displays which we do, the kind of information which is available at the dealership has to be in sync with what we are also talking on online. I think that is one of the biggest challenges which we face as an automobile category, because we tend to ignore that it's only online. So let's forget offline. And, online is a fairly recent phenomenon. Everyone has been doing content offline, right from wall paintings to, in-store displays and being participating in events, etc. I feel that, that is also content which you actually push out at that point of time. While having said that, online has become very important. As I said, that a lot of content gets published by us, both written as well as video. Videos are working well because you're able to, showcase your product, etc. You can talk about the technology, you can show the features, etc. And that has become very important. And so video content is important. Another thing which I think I would like to talk about here is that India is a very vast, diverse nation. So one of the things which we need to be very careful about is to put out regional content. People buy differently in UP and people buy differently in Kerala. It's not only the language, but the kind of products, how they behave at the dealership, or, when they come online, they look at different kind of models. So for us, that also becomes important. So one of the things is that you need to have, contextual content as well. It's not just put out one content. And we all, I'll be very upfront in saying this, that, what we tend to do is let's get out one post, put that same thing on Facebook and, on Insta and LinkedIn, etc. And I think we all have been guilty of doing that. I think one of those things do matter a lot, if you have regional content. So we are really looking at, regional content as well. And we have seen that whenever we have regional content, that works very, very well for us. So I think, yes, as Deepak also mentioned that, pandemic really, pushed everyone, specifically the automobile companies, because we were not very, very clear that how to use online in terms of content. But electric, we've been using this very specifically, as I said, that, a lot of questions from, our consumers, how it works, etc. So yes, content has really blown over, and what we need to be careful about is, what kind of content we are putting out. It has to be contextual also, and I think that gives out great results for us. Thank you.
Got it. I'll come back to some of the points you raised just now. I'll move on to Anita. And if you can tell us, Anita, how does content work for an FMCG brand? Is there a lot of textual content questions to be answered at all? Or is it, videos and a lot of brand collaborations that you look at? How do you approach content? Is it video driven?
So thank you firstly, Sushmita, for having me on the panel. Like Deepak and Manu both said, the categories that they operate in are very different. For example, in the case of securities, it's a lot more information and security around what they are proposing, which matters. In the case of Manu, for example, there's a lot of awareness on EVs, that needs to be created, a lot of education. Unlike them, I think for FMCGs, it's, I think, even more challenging, because finally your content strategy completely depends on what your objective is. While the overall objective for all brand categories will always be sales and conversions, but I think when you are talking about when Neha was mentioning about talking to your own target audience and what is the expected response that you want from your target audience, that is when the content has to be devised accordingly for the audiences. And there isn't too much of education, because I mean, a toothpaste is a toothpaste is a toothpaste, yeah, but and similarly a hair oil is a hair oil, or a ghee is a ghee, or a honey is a honey. And what is it that you can actually display in content for these kind of categories, which already, from an information or awareness perspective, have been done to death? I think there, what is important for FMCGs is to really create engagement with the consumers. So if you have your right kind of cohorts defined for whatever brand category you are working on, and then if you know, for example, as to what is the kind of content that they are engaging in or they are enticed by, and then devise your content strategy by making the brand the hero, in terms of that content. And in the case of FMCGs, videos work far better than any other information, because, how much information, like I said, can you put in a toothpaste, apart from saying that, it's herbal or it's non-herbal, or it's Ayurvedic or it's non-Ayurvedic, because otherwise, as a As a category, it doesn't need any pushing, you know. But if you have to get closer to your audience, if you need to buy their trust or their loyalty, that is where the brand will need to use the content from that perspective to say, figure out where your target audience is, what is it that they're looking for, what kind of content is being consumed, and hence base your strategies by making your brand the core of the entire content strategies. So in the case of FMCGs, because everything is laid out so beautifully, you know, for various kind of brands, it becomes even more challenging on how to keep constantly engaging with the audience. You know, how much can you talk about it? But the fact is that, you know, today when you know, as Manu was mentioning, you know, content was always there. I think the mediums were different. The vehicles in which the content was being carried, whether it is newspapers or, you know, television or on wall paintings or whatever, those mediums have always been different. But today, in the age of, you know, digital, where we see consumption happening like crazy on various platforms, yeah, it becomes very important to be a part of that. Because for example, if you take social media, if you as a brand, you know, are not part of you know, that particular platform, where you know that competition is there, and more than competition, your audience is there, then you're losing the battle. You know, so it becomes very important to look at these 5-6 factors when specifically in the case of FMCGs, when you are looking at content. So I find that the FMCG content strategies, to my mind, are far more challenging than you know, other categories where you know that your objective is really very, very well defined.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And Mukesh, is that the kind of problem that you face in the olive oil category, or are you still in the awareness creation, and therefore the content that you make, the reason you are making it, the objective is very clear, unlike what Anita was saying, is that there is already so much out there, what you say, how you say it, and build that engagement, therefore is so much harder. Is it different for you?
Thanks, Sushmita, for the question. Firstly, thank you, afaqs team and Quora team for giving me this opportunity to express my thoughts, and not just that, but even to listen to all the other panel members, Deepak, Manu, Anita, Neha. I mean, all of them are fantastic thought leaders, and I'm sure I would learn something from this discussion. Coming back to the question, as Anita rightly mentioned, yes, every brand, depending on their consumer journeys or depending on their consumer thought process, would have a different battle to solve or a different problem to solve. Specifically talking about for our olive oil brand, because as being a challenger FMCG olive oil brand, we largely use content marketing for maybe a top funnel play. Right now, we are not trying to optimize for the conversion or drive traffic to a website, because we have been traditionally placed, we sell through third parties, which could be a third party online platform or an offline platform. We are not a D2C player. So right now, conversion and driving traffic to a website is not something that we are optimizing for. However, that comes as a bonus. We do try to whatever additional traffic can lead out to our Amazon platforms or the Amazon PDPs. But right now, what we're trying to solve for is the top funnel as a play. For us, the most important part is, and as Anita also was mentioning about that, every brand now, depending on what consumer set they have in terms of the demographics, and also at what product lifecycle stage are they? Are they trying to excite the early adopters, or they're trying to mass scale to the mass majority? The strategy of the content game will also change. For us, as I said, because we are a challenger olive oil brand, for us, it's more important to right now spread the knowledge about the oil. We are trying to break the myths that exist in the market. We are trying to use content marketing to evangelize the healthy eating, and thereby build trust for the brand, and almost and pretty much at the end of the day, build that consumer love. For us, that is the most important metrics or most important objective that we are trying to solve for. We are trying to build a very healthy community of people who are health enthusiasts, and that we have realized has happened in the last couple of years after the pandemic hit. We have seen that incredible rise of health consciousness among the consumer. So we are trying to talk to those health conscious people and build a community around it, and that's where we're trying to play our content marketing game. So for every brand, as we said, the objectives or the ways can change. For us right now, it's a top funnel game, but yes, content marketing can also be a beautiful full funnel play for different brands depending on their requirement.
Thank you. In fact, offers a great segue for my next question. Deepak, I'll come to you with it. I want to understand, I'm guessing that for ICICI Securities, you are not in a similar stage where Mukesh's olive oil brand perhaps is, only driving top funnel. So where in the consumer's purchase journey do you use content, or do you see content as a full funnel sort of solution, and how do you tweak it if it's a full funnel solution?
So let me start by saying that we are in a business of trust, right? We are not in a category where there's a touch and feel and a visible end product that you can go and see it on any of the shelves, or you can experience it as first hand. So for us, a lot of education. So I would look at it from a funnel context. It's across the funnel. So right from awareness to consideration to conversion would be the full funnel approach that we would adapt to our content. Also, what we've seen is that, as like I mentioned during the pandemic, we saw the surge of DIY across various generations and including the digital natives in particular. Because there was a forced stop in life, people got a lot more conscious about the money management, and there were instances in their life cycle around that period, which forced them to kind of pause and think about how do they manage their finances. There was also a reverse migration from key cities to the smaller towns where the spending capacity actually reduced and there was a higher saving. All of this, along with the fact that there was a surge of content that was coming out, I think we saw a progression where people have now today adopted to having a conversation around money, which otherwise at a society level, and I'm sure it's still prevailing to an extent, a conversation about money across a dining table is probably restricted, within the family. It could still be around where do we spend, but how much salary do you earn and how much do you save is not a very open family conversation that tends to happen. I think that's slowly shifting. So for us as a category, what we intend to do with content is we've always kept it at the center of our entire core marketing strategy, wherein we are addressing consumers because a large chunk of the funnel is still at a stage where they are trying to dabble around decisioning whether they should look at investment, because culturally the country has been a saving generation, but over the period where economic changes, the spending or the spending thrift is on an all-time high. So when you're looking at decisioning around investment, the knowledge is something which we have to address at a constant or a continuous level, which is where a lot of our content comes in, where we address queries around consumer searches related to basic level on how do I get started, what are the kind of products I could consider. And as an institution, I actually I'm a new financial marketplace. So I give you access across your various needs, right from investment to your trading in stock market, to investment in mutual fund, to saving instruments like fixed deposit, corporate bonds, loans and borrowings. If you want loans, we have access provided to our consumers, insurance and protection. So I kind of cover up that entire ecosystem for our potential consumers. So what we kind of actively engage is addressing his need based on at what stage of his journey he is. If he's more at a discovery stage, then the content is tailored to that particular aspect, where we kind of bring in context around what are the various products and solutions, not really getting into a core product, but on the asset classes he can consider, the nuances around what he should look at when he's making a decision. When it comes to consideration, then what are the choices? Because like a new marketplace, I provide access to multiple brands on my platform that he could choose from. So what are the solutions that he can choose? And then how does he go about it? So for me, that entire full funnel becomes the backbone of my content strategy. This is further integrated to the context of the search keywords, right? What are the keywords that are being searched, and what is the kind of search value assigned to those keywords? That becomes your priority metrics. And then you stack your keyword insights through the tools like I heard Neha mention about a SEMrush. You look at the search values on the keyword planner, you look at the intent of those search values or the keywords, and then you assign your content, whether it's a long tail, whether it's a short format content, whether it's a video content, whether it's a small bite-sized FAQ content, and you build that entire content stack and you make it available.
Got it. And I want to understand, if I can, prod you a little, how do you measure it? So say you are at the top funnel, creating content, putting that out there. Is there any way to measure this? Since, Mukesh also was saying that it's not a D2C brand. None of the brands we are talking to today are actually D2C brands, where possibly there's a way to kind of close that loop and figure out the conversions. How do you do that for content marketing?
That's a very pertinent question, because I think that's where you really gauge the efficiency around your content, right? So when you look at your content, right, once you've created them, you've got to deliver or deploy them on the various platforms. And what today, as marketers, we have access is to the analytics around those platforms, right? So depending on which platform you've tapped for putting out your content, you would have analytics around the views, the impressions, the engagement rate. If you are looking at it from a top of the funnel, you would probably largely leave it at impression views, right? If you're looking at a consideration, you would look at the engagement, or you would look at probably the traffic that comes from your source. If you have the pixels stacked onto your website, which is tagging onto the various content platforms that you've engaged on, you could reverse feed it and check on your analytics at the GA level to see which of your content has driven the traffic to you. If you've got events on your website or on your app, if those events trackers allow you to kind of see whether the inflow of content that's come to you from a certain source point, has it engaged with those events, and whether that events has then led to, say, a lead level generation for you, you're then able to kind of ascertain what type of content gives me what type of metrics to measure. If your metrics is around the top of the funnel, you will leave it at the reference of views and impressions. If it's at an engagement, you may look at the engagement that you get in terms of the traffic to your site, or the action that you put out on the conversion state. All of this kind of then helps you to bring more efficiency, because content is not a one-time process, it's a continuous process. And I would rather say the whole ecosystem of digital today enables marketeers with the freedom to experiment, right? And the beauty of online is that you can constantly dabble with experiments and see what's working, what's not working, and bring about efficiency as you go along, right? So all of this then seeds into your thinking around how do you bring efficiency into your content buckets, right? From consumer segments that are engaged in terms of age cohorts, demographic cohort, geographical cohorts, and then what are the actionables they have taken, whether they're coming as repeat visitors and therefore they're engaged further. Are you building some credibility? Are the followership increasing for you? All of these then fit into the matrices.
Got it. Manu, if I can come to you, and you made a very valid point when you were speaking that you need to, the content creation or the content that is put out for consumers has to kind of seamlessly integrate both online and offline, even at the dealership level. And I guess the conversion happens at the dealership level, even though research for an EV could happen online. Almost all of it is taking place online, possibly. So I want to understand from you then, when there is an online and an offline part to it, and you're using content here, how do you connect these two? How do you measure it? And how effective is content to drive people to that dealership, which is where the conversion happens?
Okay. So, before I answer this question, I would also like to mention that, during the pandemic, we started our online channel, and we were very, very successful. In fact, we started booking there. So you come and pay a certain amount and book your vehicle, and you can take the deliveries from the dealership. That was a hugely successful thing for us. It came down a little bit once the stores open, obviously, because people would like to go to the store first. But we still have our online, sales channel. You can go there, look at the products online, book the product, and take the delivery, by paying the balance amount to the dealership. In fact, what we also did was that we worked with other, independent platforms, e-commerce channels, where we are selling our products through. We also have plans, in fact, we tried with some other platforms to actually do a full D2C model. Some of the, people in the industry are already doing that, a pure play D2C, though they have also moved on to the offline, because ultimately, we want to go, and there is a full nuance of buying an automobile. You want to go with your family to collect the vehicle, etc., etc. So, and especially in the two-wheeler categories, tier 2, tier 3 towns are very important, but we get inquiries and bookings from across India. It's not limited that, Delhi or Bombay will do better and a smaller city will not do better. So people are now, we are fully aware that people are, using digital channels to look at, obviously search is a very important, play, because that is where you go to look at reviews, look at, videos, etc. There's a whole amount of content on electric, which is available. So for us, as I say, I always say it's a click and mortar play now. You book online and you take deliveries from the dealership. Now, how do we seamlessly? That is one of the bigger challenges which we have, because the dealerships are run by our channel partners. However, you try to have similar kind of content, the kind of language which they speak, the way they explain. We try to make sure that they have standardized content which goes on, but that is a challenge, and we continuously work with our agency partners and through our channel partners, our sales team, that the content or the information which is given out is fairly similar for people who come online and when they go offline. How do we measure? It's a very simple thing. We've been very successful, as I said, during the pandemic, and even now, in terms of generating leads. We get people onto our website and the kind of booking. So that is one critical measurement matrix. For us, offline obviously is a slightly different, though we have CRMs and dealer management systems which we track very closely in terms of the leads given out from the offline or from dealer walk-ins also, because one of the key areas which we work on is actually word of mouth. That works very well. In fact, one of the large parts of we have loyalty programs, etc. So people who own the vehicle, they pass it on. So there are different measurement tactics, and some of them I'll not repeat, as Deepak has already mentioned specifically for the online ones. Those are some of the matrices we also typically use. But as I said, that yes, for our category specifically, online offline is a very important thing. So content not only for online but for offline as well. For us, it really matters a lot. And as I said, one of the challenges is obviously to make it as seamless for a person coming on, searching online, and then going to my dealer store or experience center.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Anita, if I can come to you, I think we've understood the measurement part. One question I have for all of you is, while each of you is dealing with a very distinct brand with distinct stages of you want to reach the consumer at a very special point in their consumer journey, what I want to understand is, how does a platform like Quora assist your brand or the category that you are operating in influencing decision or driving intent for consumers? Can you help me understand that?
Given Neha's presentation at the beginning of the session, the way she mentioned the 5-6 pillars that Quora as a platform offers, we never had something like Quora earlier. Yeah, we went to the internet to raise questions, to whatever questions we had, we did those searches on internet, figured out some answers, tried to really analyze from those answers as to what the audiences are wanting. But with Quora here now, I mean, when you do your brand searches, for example, on Quora, or do the category searches on Quora, then you do have access to a lot of reviews. People talking good, people talking bad, people asking you to improve, people asking you to, what you need to really do, or maybe you should just do away with the product and things like that. I think that information is something directly coming from a consumer was missing earlier, because we used to, I think, do consumer tracks, and we used to do a lot of researches to understand what the consumer wants, and hence, base our strategies for whether it was creative strategies or communication strategies around that understanding of the consumer. But I think platforms like Quora today make life a little easier, because there you actually have the users coming in and informing you about the category and also about your own brand. So that helps you to, I would say, to define a complete strategy, a content or a communication strategy around this, but at least you're able to put in, pointers to say, there were 10 things or 5 things that you learned from the experiences coming in there. You say, oh shit, I didn't know about this, but you know what? If I can tweak my strategy a little, I'm able to address the 3 queries that my customer has out there. And there are other consumers who are searching for those categories who are also reading those reviews. So by default, even they get influenced by those reviews. So I think platforms like Quora will help not only FMCG categories but across categories to understand your consumer a little better. And when we are talking about really formulating content strategies, we know exactly what is it that will help engage with those consumers. Now, depending on, as Manu and Deepak rightfully said, that we've already defined the matrices, we've defined the the parameters on the basis of which we define success or engagement of a campaign or not. While we've already defined that, I think that also helps us to understand that during the full funnel, whichever part you are in the funnel, what is the kind of content you want to really give to your consumers? Is it a bite-sized content? Is it a snack-sized content? Is it short format? Is it long format? Depending on what is the consumption, because that is where if you are, for example, rolling out a 3-minute video to somebody who doesn't even have 10 seconds, then I think your strategy is completely off. So
Got it.
Understanding of the consumer always in the marketplace has been a challenge, because today we are talking personalization. So you talk to me as a brand and understand as to why my teeth is not shining or why my hair is thinning. And I have that particular problem as myself as a consumer. So don't generalize me and say this is for everything. I think you need to understand where I'm coming from. You need to really make that personalization, and with the digital, platforms, various platforms that are available today, thankfully for marketers, it's becoming a little more easier to really pinpoint, make your cohorts understand their needs, and then devise your content strategy and communication accordingly. So I think apart from giving us inputs on consumers, what Quora also does is it has this 100+ million reach as well. So it will be very interesting to really push your content on the platform to reach those 100+, and with even focused targeting, you may be able to drive home your point as a brand from that perspective.
And Mukesh, can you tell us, you also worked with brands that are not in the FMCG category in the past. Have there been brands where a platform like Quora could have possibly been helpful at different stages of the consumer journey?
Yes, sure. I mean, Quora is a fantastic platform, and even I would say before using it as a marketer, I'm an extensive user of Quora as a consumer also. I've been using Quora to discover my pain points and address those questions out there. And Quora can be used in multiple ways for a marketer, be it establishing authority or thought leadership, be it driving traffic to your respective website, or be it about doing a secondary market research or getting those, understanding those problem areas. Even for my olive oil category, I very clearly remember last year, our agency presented a thought that a lot of people still do not know how olive oil should be used. So there is a lot of discussion that olive oil use cannot be used for cooking. And there are a lot of extensive threads going on in Quora, and we decided that we need to address this as a brand. And that gives a brand like us, who's a challenger brand, an opportunity to establish our thought leadership. And inspired by those consumer findings or insights that we got from Quora, we were actually created the entire series of content bucket, where we're trying to demystify or breaking those myths that which olive oil should be used in what way, which kind of olive oil is good for cooking, or which kind of olive oil is good for just maybe salad dressing or those kind of things. Even in my previous organization, like I was worked in the consumer durable and smartphone industry, there I think we have a very engaged community on Quora of the technology enthusiasts, and they keep always looking for the deep downs. So while through an advertising, even a brand can always talk about X number of features, but there are technology enthusiasts who wants to know maybe slightly more deeper. They want to go deep down into those, understanding those features. And that's where maybe a personal brand or a individual or a brand can establish that thought leadership, and they can talk about addressing those features and solve their problem. And then over a period of time, they can establish their mark in that space. So a lot of different brands, be it FMCG, non-FMCG, the Quora presents a fantastic opportunities to establish themselves and connect with the audience. And engagement is the holy grail of the entire content marketing. And I think that's been served perfectly on the Quora platform, I believe.
Understood. And Deepak, how does it work for the BFSI category? Do a lot of people look for information about financial planning, etc., on a platform like Quora? How could Quora be useful for the BFSI sector?
Before I answer that straight away, let me just make a statement. So in our category per se, people buy into people before they buy into brand. And I think the perfect reflection of this behavior is a platform like Quora. So while I heard my fellow panelists talk about, how Quora can, play a very important part of it, I think I would resonate completely in agreement. And in our category, especially in the finance category or investment, I think it's quite a dominating presence in terms of the kind of questions that we see on a fair mix of various nuances, right from banking to credit cards to investment, mutual funds, stock and trading. In fact, in the recent times, we've seen a lot of influencers who were dominating the video formats, taking a position on the Quora as a platform to build their credibility, because they also saw that there's a high surge of dominating set of questions, queries around every aspect of decisioning when it comes to your money. At the end of the day, it's your precious money, right? And you would want to take as many considered views around where do you deploy, how do you go about it,
right,
and kind of build that kind of a social proof around you before you make that decision. Gone are the days where generation would be just told that son, here is your first paycheck, give it to me and I'll put it for you, or here is your first paycheck, I'll tell you where to put in. The kid today, the new young millennial or the Gen Z want to do the self-discovery. They want to understand, research on their own, talk to their peer group, talk around in circles on such platform. And I think Quora is intrinsic and right at the center. So in our category, we've seen a domination. We see queries on a regular basis. For us as a brand, we have strategically been invested into Quora for a while. In fact, we work very closely with the Quora team. In the recent time, we built trust on across our product portfolio, not only just a single out category, but to build positions so that as a brand, we can establish thought leadership. Because at the end of the day, it's very critical for a brand acceptance to be seen empathetically part of the life or of the journey of the consumer, and to take a tonality which is coming more from I'm your friend rather than build it out from a pure sale. So that tonality helps you to build favorability, improves consideration, improves engagement for you. And I think that's something which we've seen the play up with Quora, and therefore we are pretty much committed to kind of hold that on ground.
Got it. And Manu, final comments from you about the relevance of Quora in content marketing and creating thought leadership in the EV segment in particular?
So I think very, very critical, because FAQs have been playing a very important role. As I said, sunrise industry, a lot of questions which people have. So what better place to ask than a platform like Quora, and not only from a consumer viewpoint, but from the brand viewpoint also, because as I in my earlier comment also said that word of mouth plays a very important role, especially when somebody is switching on from a regular petrol scooter or a motorcycle to an electric vehicle. There are a lot of questions which people have, and if somebody has been using it and they're able to put down their experience, and hearing from them firsthand will obviously adds that value to the other person. So Quora absolutely from the brand perspective, and also as Mukesh was saying earlier, that to build individual thought leadership, for leadership in the organization, and that is I think, very, very important place where, I would actually advise most leadership members to, be part of it, answer questions there. Because, and also, one of the things is that you get to engage with, your consumers or people who have actually, questions on that. And that also builds that, credibility and, your connect with the, actual consumer. So I think, yes, Quora absolutely, must platform to have on your marketing.
Got it. Thank you so much. I think I learned a lot from all of you today, and we are out of time to take questions from our audience. If you have any, please email them to us. We will make sure either our panelists, or if you had questions for Quora, somebody gets back to you. We will figure out a way to make this happen. Thank you to my panelists. Over to you, Nama.
Thank you, Susmita. I would like to thank all our panelists for sharing with us so many interesting insights from their respective categories. With this, we come to the end of the Power Packed webinar. Thank you, audience, for joining us and sharing your questions. Due to the paucity of time, we will email you answers to the questions you have raised for the panelists, as well as a copy of the deck presented. We hope you have enjoyed this webinar. Before we sign off for the day, I wish to inform our audience that they will be able to access the on-demand recording of today's webinar within the next 24 hours. We will send you instructions on how you can access this as well. Once again, a big thank you to our speakers and the audience. Goodbye. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
In fact, we
Thank
can put
you.
the questions onto Quora. We can actually answer them. Thank you.
It's a great idea. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me.